Once, long ago, when reality and a dream were one and the same, located in the heart of a small medieval town, there was an innkeeper with the power to change reality with nothing but mere thoughts. Whenever simple creations passed through the innkeeper's mind, focused and controlled, they would come to life, as if passing through a wondrous portal into the world known to man. If he wished for a beautiful woman to come into his life, a majestic traveler from the nearby metropolis would come to stay at his inn. If he longed for a red, warm robe made from the finest silk, one would appear in his closet ready for use. It was a magic that was wonderful, pleasant to have, and comforting to know. However, the magic was not always a gift. When the innkeeper was young, his mind would run wild as he laid asleep in his warm bed. Nightmares would create snow and ice, a frost that hovered over his town. He would awake only to find destruction and pain, where the town was only a shadow of what it was. He would always put everything back and restore the fabric of reality, where no one remembered what had occurred, but he always remembered, and grew fearful of laying his head upon his pillow. After staying awake for nights on end, filled with endless herbal drinks and short instances of frightful sleep, the young innkeeper was ready to stop thinking completely, for fear he could not control his thoughts even when awake. He did not know what to do, until a man dressed in simple garb approached him. A rather rugged man from an agrarian culture, he walked with the aid of a wooden staff and carried a small red book in his arms. Without a word, he gave the book to the young innkeeper, and left, back to the mystery of a land he resided in. The young innkeeper, tired yet curious, opened the book to find a small bronze necklace wedged between its yellow pages. Without knowing why, he grasped the necklace and put it over his head, following the sheer sense of certainty that emitted from his gut. Heading to his room as if in a trance, he fell on his bed and began to dream. When he awoke, the world was as he left it, undisturbed by his young thoughts. The necklace was his salvation, his peace, for without it he would have certainly been lost. Now, as a man of wisdom and confidence, he used his power to help himself and to help others, all the while keeping his power a secret. The innkeeper imagined peace in his medieval town, where no one was killed or murdered. There was no hunger, no despair. Everything was pleasant, perfect, untouched by the sins of mortal man. The news of this perfect town spread all over the world, from the far reaches of Antarctica to the hidden hillsides of Russia. People spoke of it as paradise, a garden of Eden left to those few perfect souls. People admired the town and respected such a perfect place. But as the years drew by, admiration soured into jealousy and hate, for their land was constantly tarnished by the sins of man. A conspiracy to conquer this perfect paradise was made, and soon an army was created, thousands upon thousands that wished to have their own piece of perfection. When word arrived that a massive army was on the way to take the town, the innkeeper kept quiet, as his neighbors and friends prepared for battle, fearful that his secret would be revealed if he took any action to help. The townspeople, living their lives in a peaceful bubble, were scared and afraid, lost to the thought of taking arms against another human being. They gathered what sticks and brooms that would be used to defend themselves, and gathered on the outside of town, lining all the men except the innkeeper, in a defensive line in the hopes of repelling the invaders with their meager security system. The innkeeper, refusing to interfere, had fled the town, running to a nearby hill to watch over the upcoming battle. Wanting to move on, he found he could not, and sat back under the shade of a tree, forced to watch the upcoming destruction. The army arrived and began its attack, killing any who dared to fight back. Men were slain in front of their wives, children hid in houses that were lit on fire, women were taken away on the backs of savage men. Never before had the town seen such disruption, such lust and envy. They were unprepared, unable to fight against such a ruthless force. The innkeeper watched all the while as blood began to tarnish the land. With each murdered being, a fire burned brighter and brighter in the soul of the innkeeper, waiting to be unleashed. With a sudden rage of fury, the innkeeper tore the necklace off his chest, and from the bronze created an army of 12 metal soldiers that listened to his every command. From the bark of the tree and a simple thought, the wood became a floating chariot lifted by the flames of the innkeeper's fury. Boarding the self-made hovercraft, the innkeeper ordered his army forward towards the suffering town and began his attack on the invading army. The army, seeing a man being carried on a device made of wood and burning flame, surrounded by 12 bronze soldiers, grew fearful for their lives. The innkeeper took that fear in their bravest men and forced them on their knees to beg for their lives. As they whispered for forgiveness for their sins, the 12 bronze soldiers promptly beheaded them all, freezing their prayers upon dead, cold lips. The other men, seeing their bravest warriors fall in a matter of moments, began to run, hiding away from certain death. The innkeeper, noticing that fear, gave them misguided courage, promising the ideal that a bronze man was no match for flesh and blood. Soon the invading army was fighting again, with 20 blindly courageous men attacking one bronze soldier. Each weak-minded soldier was severely beaten and brought to the feet of the innkeeper, where they were asked to promise never to return if they wished to save their life. Each man made such a promise, and with tears in his eyes the innkeeper would erase the man from existence, making it as if he was never born. Night fell, and the innkeeper sat in the rubble of his town, where 12 bronze soldiers stood guard. Staring at the endless corpses, the innkeeper wished to raise them from the dead, to bring back all those he loved from the terrible deaths they endured. Knowing that doing so would be empty and hollow, the innkeeper buried the town deep within the earth with its 12 bronze protectors, vowing that no one else would suffer for his gift. With a mere thought, he made himself a mortal man, no longer gifted with the power that was once before so precious to him. Leaving with only a simple walking stick and a small red book, the innkeeper began to walk aimlessly around the lands, hoping to provide guidance for the next young fool who strove to become a god.